Fire purifies everything in the material world. Love purifies everything in the spiritual world. Okay, let's dive right into this. That profound little observation from Andre Amiel isn't just beautiful poetry. As our sources today reveal, it is deeply, almost literally agricultural. It names the exact agent of transformation that sets the stage for our entire explainer today. Welcome to today's explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here with us. Today, we're taking some incredibly abstract philosophy and transforming it into something highly actionable. How? Well, by treating the human mind exactly like a field. It's a simple metaphor, sure, but as you'll see from the insights we've gathered today, it's a framework that can fundamentally change how you operate on a daily basis. So here is our roadmap. Think of it as a sort of farmer's almanac for the human mind. We're going to cover 1. The mind as a field. 2. Clearing your sacred ground. 3. Planting seeds of language. 4. Flourishing overcomes the weeds. 5. Reading the soil of others. And finally, 6. The work of the harvest. But before we really get going into the breakdown, I want to ask you this directly. What are you allowing to take root? Seriously, think about your daily habits, your looping thoughts, your regular conversations. Because the fundamental truth we are exploring today is that whatever you permit into your field ultimately determines exactly what grows there. All right, let's start with section 1, the mind as a field, focusing on the quality of the harvest. You know, there is something the farmer knows that the rest of us constantly seem to forget. The quality of the harvest is determined long before the actual results arrive. And what's really fascinating here is how universal this concept is across our sources. Whether you're reading ancient Stoic philosophy or the New Testament, they all circle this exact same governing truth. You are a field. Now, the amateur, they just leave the gate wide open to whatever blows in on the wind. But the professional carefully tends that gate. Which brings us perfectly to our second step. Section 2. Clearing your sacred ground. Defending the interior. To properly tend the gate, you have to defend your inner space. Author Steven Pressfield makes this brilliant distinction that illustrates this perfectly. He notes that the amateur is tyrannized by expectations, essentially allowing their worth to be defined entirely by other people. But the professional? They step out of that shadow to actively defend their interior. So the crucial takeaway here is that a still mind isn't just some passive, empty vacancy. No, it is a fiercely guarded, deliberately cleared space where something valuable can actually grow. And this defense relies heavily on the discipline of subtraction. As Antoine de Saint-Exupéry famously put it, perfection is achieved when there is nothing left to take away. Our sources consistently highlight that the most fertile fields are not the ones packed to the brim with every possible thing. Actually, they're the most deliberately cleared ones. You absolutely have to pull up the weeds of other people's expectations before they spread and take over. So once that ground is cleared, we move to section 3, planting seeds of language, the architecture of thought. Okay, if your still interior is the rich soil, then your language is the seed. Our sources highlight this fantastic insight from David Schwartz. He says, don't strive for a big vocabulary, strive for a big thinker's vocabulary. Schwartz points out that human beings essentially think in pictures, right? And the words we use generate the actual pictures we live inside every single day. Let's break down what that actually means in practice. A large vocabulary is just a collection of words in a dictionary. But a big thinker's vocabulary? That is a garden. These words act as active agents of reality. When you consciously use a big thinker's vocabulary, you are deliberately planting seeds that build castles instead of digging graves. Things like visualization and sincere praise, they aren't just soft, positive thinking. They add tangible value to everything you touch. They represent a rigorous daily discipline of planting the right seeds. But of course, what happens when things go wrong? Let's look at section 4. Flourishing overcomes the weeds, the parable applied. Let's be real, we all have weeds. Bad habits, negative associations, you name it. Our source material draws on Hall of Fame football coach Tony Dungy's application of the biblical parable of the sower here. Dungy shares this brilliant gardener's insight. You don't fight weeds directly. If you just obsess over elimination, you're gonna lose. Instead, you crowd them out. You spend time with good influencers. You focus on things that are pure and good. You basically cultivate grass that is so thick and inexhaustibly alive that the weeds simply don't have the space or the sunlight to even gain a foothold. And this maps directly onto practical habit formation. If you want to break a bad habit, you have to uncouple the urge from the action. When you feel the urge, you don't just use sheer willpower to suppress it, because that's just fighting the weed head-on. Instead, you deliberately plant a new, much better behavior in that exact same spot. You crowd the weed out with a brand new seed.
So far, we've focused heavily on our own minds. Let's expand outward in Section 5, reading The Soil of Others, the Stories That Shape Belonging.
Our sources bring in sports executive George Raveling's lessons from the upcoming 2026 World Cup, noting that deep down we are all just looking for a team to belong to and a story to share. And this quote from Lady Bird Johnson captures the essence of that shared belonging perfectly. Children are likely to live up to what you believe of them. You see, belief is a form of irrigation. The stories and expectations we project onto other people become the actual conditions for their growth. If you treat the soil of their potential as fertile, it tends to become exactly that.
But you really have to pay attention to who is actually standing in front of you. Our sources reference author Robert Greene here, noting that a skilled cultivator must always read the soil before planting. Greene observes that many people genuinely want to be generous or participate in a good cause. Framing an interaction to appeal to that genuine desire isn't manipulation, not at all. It's attentiveness. It is an attentive collaboration where you are reading the field correctly and honoring what is already naturally growing in someone else's soil.
All right, we've cleared the ground, we've planted the seeds, now for the final phase. Section 6, the work of the harvest, creation over waiting. I am going to take you through a rapid-fire sequence of wisdom from our sources to build some real momentum here, because the ultimate truth is that the field absolutely does not tend itself. As Abraham Lincoln so perfectly observed, the best way to predict the future is to create it. You cannot be passive in this. You must take active control of the harvest. Management legend Peter Drucker reinforces this brilliantly. The best plan is only good intentions unless it degenerates to work. Good intentions? They're literally just seeds sitting in a bag. They never actually touch the dirt until you get down on your hands and knees and put in the work. And then we have Ray Kroc, who extends this whole agricultural logic right into modern industry. He says, luck is a dividend of sweat. The more you sweat, the luckier you get. Luck isn't just some random lottery ticket that falls from the sky. It is the harvest of consistent daily planting. The person who appears to receive sudden luck has usually been quietly planting all along. Which leads us to a very honest and maybe a little uncomfortable self-diagnostic from our source material. Are you inventing things to do just to avoid the important work? I mean, it's so easy to organize the seed packets, read books about farming, and talk endlessly about the harvest. But are you actually putting the spade into the dirt? We have to stop avoiding the actual labor of cultivation. Because at the end of the day, all of this requires a fundamental act of trust. Faithfulness in the planting, trust in the rain. This isn't an invitation to just sit back and be passive. It is the deep confidence of the farmer who has done absolutely everything in their power to prepare the soil and plant well. You do the hard work, and then you trust divine providence or whatever larger forces govern the world to bring the rain. I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative challenge derived from the philosopher Albert Camus. Real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present. Think about it. The farmer does not harvest on the day he plants. He simply plants on the day he plants. So, looking at the field of your own mind right now, will you stop waiting for tomorrow's imagined harvest and start giving fully and without reservation to this exact moment? The field is yours to tend. It's time to start planting.